Alright, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, Day 111. So, for the standard intro, there's no updates on the renovation situation, and as usual, we'll be trying to get to the next release of the terminal block mining simulation game. And also, of course, been working through the days on another long-form video. So today I worked on some planning out some graphics that I plan to use for it. And for the remaining work before the next release, so I've been, the last 5 days or so, I've been working on utility function to expand changed regions so that they don't cut up multi-column characters when going through the merge algorithm. So I think that's done, and I'm just kind of incorporating it, going to continue incorporating it into the test cases, and then might make a visualization to actually like kind of report that and give me feedback, which will be useful when I'm debugging later. Yeah, and then one of the next things is also updating the existing testing to further support testing the multi-column character merging. And then once that's done, I can add multi-column. I can just change the max column width in the fuzz tests, and then it should, in theory, just work perfectly if there's no bugs. And if there are bugs, then I'll fix them. And yeah, as I said, I probably won't get around to the super intense screen update debugging feature. IME student says, hello, how's it going? Orthoplex 64 sends a wave. How's it going? Alright, let's check the latest functionality. Huh. Interesting. Haven't seen that at startup before. That's a weird bug. I'll have to I'm kind of hoping that'll just go away with the once I've finished the character merging stuff. But theoretically, that shouldn't happen. There's no multi-column characters on the screen at that point. It's something to do with it. It's not picking up the background colors. Very weird. That's interesting that it also affects the border too. Just mining, no crafting. There is crafting, but it's very extremely limited. You just press the C key and it automatically crafts. If you have the reagents available, it just crafts them. Like right now I'm pressing C and crafting an iron pick. Yeah, I need to finish this screen layer merging thing so I can actually implement some interesting features. I'm realizing I should really implement like a better selection process. I need like a real kind of scrollable menu. Because if I implement recipes, then I probably also have like just like something in the help menu so that you can open like recipes frame or something. And if there's any significant number of recipes, you need some way to scroll through them, and there's no scrolling UI concept. So that might be a thing, another thing I'll have to develop. There's quite a bit of work involved in justifying text and wrapping lines and all kinds of stuff. Right, let's continue on. Let's see if this works. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so I thought about this a bit today, and I think what I need for to get the test to work, I actually need like a couple of versions of this function. There's someone outside watching me. Who is it? Is it Santa Claus? Watching to see who's naughty and nice? Must be from a cable with a bad connection. Yeah, I'm wiggling it around. That seems to make it cut out more. James Goodrich, 69, ... sends $7. On the seventh day, ye Sahel, or shall continue making progress. That's right. It's written in the ancient texts. Thou shalt mine blocks in the terminal. Thank you very much. It makes it sound more mystical if it's misspelled. Hi Kane, what skills or new things in programming would you try? I'm personally focusing on C++ right now. I'd like to learn Linux after. Would I try? I don't know. I personally, I kind of feel like I'm done with the trying, learning new phase things on my life. I just want to get some meaningful things produced with the stuff I do know. But if you're asking the question from your perspective, of like a young person trying to like asking like, what should you focus your time on to build your career? That's a different question, but it's also a complicated question because there's lots of different variables. I guess it depends how old you are, what kind of position you're in your career. If you're a student, if you're graduated, if you're learning it as a hobby. If you're trying to get a job, but you have like past experience in one thing versus another, that can change stuff. Depends what country you're in. What are you building? I'm building a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks in the terminal. And currently working on some test cases. Okay, that is expected. Like Hacker Simulator and the operator. I guess is that like an actual game or something, or a concept? I'm not familiar with that title. Alright, that might work. What is he doing? He's raising funds for world domination. That's true. Coding some game, I think. Indeed. How is he going to achieve world domination and obtain those funds? So I have a video on my channel called My Plans for World Domination. If you want the full world domination plan, it's there. You can check out all the details. And if you're interested, you can get on board too. The game itself. See if this compiles. I'm working on some of the UI stuff, so it's kind of buggy at the moment, but so here's the game world. It's a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore. And let me go down to the base layer here. Interesting, it only seems to be upper layers that have that bug. So you can spam the M key to mine blocks. And you can navigate around an infinite procedurally generated universe. Spamming the M key. You can also go down into cave systems. That thing with the changing background color is a glitch. Find some iron ore to mine. I also have a couple of videos that explain the game. Here we go. Here's some iron ore. Easy way to raise funds. React to stolen TikToks. Paste in the corner of screen. Why stop there? Why don't I just like autoplay them and then I can just go, I can just leave. I can have a camera of an empty chair. I don't even have to be here. Do you know much about CNC mills and routers? I don't, although there's a lot of people that come into chat who often know about it. Well, let's see, there's 25. There's probably at least one person here that does know about them. Old chair reaction videos. Yeah, it's a lot of work to make content. It's easier just to react to stuff. But then again, there's some. I get like content ID notifications when like someone steals my video or something, and normally I don't really do anything because they'll steal like the exact video and then it gets like 2 views, so it doesn't really matter. But some of them are like they're not like full ripoffs, but they're basically that. It's someone reacting, and some of them are funny. Is like they literally don't react. They'll just play the video and then be like, oh, wow. And they have no commentary, no analysis. Very surprisingly low quality content. All right, so that's the game concept for anyone who is interested. Let's see if that new utility function works. Seen those no reaction vids? Definitely just stealing content views. I mean, the most depressing part is they're embarrassing, but they don't a lot of them don't even get views. So it's like, you know, if you can burn your credibility for money, that's one thing. But if you burn your credibility to get nothing, that's unfortunate. It's the Mr. CPU guy. It's true. It's me. First, get a rock. Then, smash the rock. Now, you've got 98% concentrated silicon dioxide. How goes it? Not too bad. Slowly grinding away, making progress on the terminal block mining game. Doing some in the days. I'm working on the next video. Maybe we can work on an AI that reacts to Robert's live streams. I guess that probably already exists. Are there some really popular AI streamers now? Futo, repair everything? I don't know what that acronym means. Do I get a pass in your utopia? I promise I'm chill. Probably you can maybe qualify for one of the visas. You can be if you're interested in a cyber warfare soldier. You can just if you're okay with running pen testing tools all day. I wonder if there are five coder streams. Probably. Generally don't go out of my way much to find much AI related content. Yeah, I don't either. There's too much content. I can't keep up with everything. And also I have to produce content, not consume it. I'll do anything for this domain. Excellent. All right. That's not quite expected. So it's on layer 1. Same, I used to keep up with LTT content, but then I graduated, had no more time to keep up. Yeah, there's yeah, I guess I guess I went through a phase where I watched a lot of Linus's videos, but then I don't know. I guess they output a lot of stuff, but there's too much stuff, and it's not really that it's like bad. Actually, even today there was like some videos that could recommend in my YouTube feed. I'm like, oh, this is so good, I have to watch them, but I have to like do useful stuff, so I just moved on. And actually, I think I'm doing that more and more recently. I see a video, I'm like, I definitely have to watch that later, and then I completely forget about it and never watch it. What are you trying to do? Right now I'm trying to fix up some of the test cases for some utility functions for merging together active screen layers in the game. So it's part of rendering the user interface. Work does consume lots of energy. Yeah, relaxing too, like wasting time with distractions that require a lot of time and energy too. I produce C code all day so I can listen to people, read my comments. Life is good. I also do enjoy Java compiler issues, and runtime exceptions brings me back to high school. Excellent. I'll be sure to include some exceptions to entertain you. Laxman Prasad 6057 says, yo, how's it going? Is this fun? Yeah, of course. I expected this to work, but it does not. Do you see HROC's new clip about volatility of 401ks for young people? I did not. Although that sounds like an interesting thesis for a video. I'm sure it's... Well, I guess reflecting on my own experience of, like, if you watched any of my videos about how I would have been worth $10 million if I had stayed at NVIDIA, I could imagine that the volatility is probably insane. Which could be interesting. We could see a lot of, like with all the dislocations in the economy, I think we could easily see like an entire generation of people that are like, hey, I can retire soon. And then all of their, like 100% of their wealth will just evaporate. And then they'll have no wealth and no houses. Keep up the good work. Going to listen to music. Have a good night. Where's the watch? Yeah, I guess I'll add it to my to-do list. I don't know if you were here for the conversation a couple of minutes ago, but there's so many good videos where I'm like, ooh, that's a good video. I should watch that. And then I don't have time and I forget about it. What's your goal right now? $12 billion, hopefully. If you want to see the full context on the world domination plans, I have a video on my channel. It's called My Plans for World Domination. And the thumbnail, I think it's like 3 videos ago. The thumbnail is me standing in a river. All right, that passed, which is good. That's what I want. Do you see anything positive happening in the near future? I guess depends for who. I don't know. I think if you're a billionaire who wants to get rich off of wealth transfers, things are looking good. I think there's going to be a lot of lots of disruption, and like things are going to like when society changes very quickly, there's sometimes new opportunities that open up quickly that, you know, if you have the awareness and ability to act on them, then not sure where those will be though. I don't know. I keep thinking we seem to be on the verge of some kind of like economic crash, which could be good because if you have cash, then that would make it easier to get into the housing market. I think the housing market is actually starting to roll over. for real this time. Because I know a lot of developers in Canada here are starting to go bust, and I mean our whole funding model for condos and stuff is insane. And there's a lot of like long-term economic things that are changing in a big way. So, I mean, it's there's always people that say like, you know, the market's going to crash or something, and then it never does. But then every like once in 10 or 20 years, it actually does crash. Do you know what SBI YBT means? I do not. All right, let's see if the important case works. All right, it is not crashing. Chuck Vanderbilt says cyber. He rolls a d20 on chance of getting a stream of the screen tests rolling for a few hours overnight. I guess you could, if you want, you could clone the repo and you could just run it locally. So you could have infinite tests. You can make them bigger if you want. And you could even control colors. Actually, this will make them slow. Let's see. If we do 100 width and 30. Actually, this will look interesting. And then we can do max characters, 100 characters. This will be interesting. Actually, this will be funny if this detects a bug. It shouldn't. Oh, that's too wide. Actually, I guess this will be, yeah. You know what, probably 20 is probably even too much. I'm going to include even more changed regions. How about 50 changed regions? And how about 50, up to 50 layers? Epilepsy warning. Brian CV1RJ says, yo, how's it going? There you go. Now I had one final thing. So this here, so since I only have single column characters, the clipped region, should equal the expanded region. let's run that test. So that's a decent test. I'll let that finish. When democracy crumbles, will you use your cyber skills to excel in the new world of techno-feudalism? New Age Steve Jobs. Well, I guess I'll have to use my cyber skills. Those are the only skills I got. I guess I could fall back maybe on. I could acquire some woodworking skills. You can never have enough skills. As for the Steve Jobs thing, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Steve Jobs. I don't use any Apple products. He was also kind of mean too. I think it'd be better if we just had like a nice Steve Jobs. Alright, that passed, which is very good. Because it means my assumptions are correct. Nice. Steve Jobs equals Steve Wozniak. Yeah, he was. Yeah, it definitely seems nicer. I guess. Yeah, I guess it's understandable why he didn't end up being like the super rich CEO one. It's not aggressive enough. Oh, that's not English. Is it Argentinian? What does it say? Pretty sure he's got a fair bit of dough. I'm not. Oh, misspelling. Winner. I don't know what that means. It's a saying from Argentina. Basically cheering. Excellent. I've never heard that before. I like Fuzz. He seems pretty chill person, like a chill person. Never get close to his circles. Still, yeah, I think he was in a plane accident or something, if I remember correctly. And I kind of wonder if, like, it was a pretty severe plane accident, and like he survived, but I kind of wonder if he hit his head, and that kind of slowed him down, or because I guess since the super early days, I'm not sure if he's like, I know he was super instrumental in the founding days of Apple, but since then I'm not sure. I guess I'd have to go back and read his Wikipedia, but I don't know what he's accomplished since the days of 1980s or so. For a soccer team, like fins up, fly eagles fly. Okay, I've never heard of those. I don't watch any sports. All right. Now I think there was one simplification. Sorry to ask, but can I know when the part 2 of your last video is coming? Like, your content is valuable, real authentic, no BS, very rare. So I try to not talk much about videos I'm working on, mainly so because I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I have this video that I'm gonna do. Because sometimes I've started videos before and then like something happens and I just kind of shelve it and I don't come back to it. So I don't like promising people stuff, but I will say that I'm working on a video that I consider to be part 2 of the last one. Like for the 5%, I figured I might as well get that out now. It's going to be a fairly different format. I would consider it's basically the answer to that. It's the video, for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs out there. But I have a kind of a different style and format that I think is it might also do well in its own way. But yeah, so it's in the works and that'll hopefully be out soon. Worked a bit on it today. Do you have a separate script of tests? What's with the flashing output? Are those scenarios being ran? So the well, I can explain the outputs. So when I actually print stuff to the terminal, I have like a screen layer object. In the simplest case, you could imagine that the whole thing is just the whole terminal is covered by one so-called screen. And to fix, so a critical problem is when I like move around the map area, or when I have certain things in a given frame, I want to calculate those locally in the frame in a separate thread, and then actually print it to the screen. So I calculate it in a local layer, send it to the console writer thread, and then that basically maps it, that merges it down into the final output. And that was error prone and had a bunch of bugs, and there's some features I wanted to do it and stuff like that. So anyway, this is just some fuzz testing I'm doing. So this here represents a this little like mini, 5 by 8 in this case, represents a randomly created screen layer. And so some of these, so like this would represent what's printed on the screen. So if you just like got rid, imagine the only thing that's printed to the terminal is just what's in here. And there's a bit of interpretation to do on this output. So because these are just test cases for me, so anything with the pound sign, that's just a null, empty character space. If it's got a G, the G character, these are just like a random letters to the alphabet, and also there's a color, or like a random color associated with it. So that's just exactly what it would have been printed to the terminal. So it just creates like random sized layers with random position offsets, and then it does the merge operation to merge them together. And along with, so every layer, so these are actual raw characters that would get printed, with the exception of the pounds, because those are just like empty spaces basically, or like places where there is no character. Active states, this describes which characters are actually active. So in this case, that character there has its active state set, but this one is not active. So when I do a merge operation, it should be excluded. And then the change flags, those are just another set of flags, so that just to kind of speed up the merging process, it'll check the change flag, and it'll only do something. This way I can calculate the changes in a separate thread and then pass them on, and then I can just check a Boolean instead of doing an object compare. And then this here is the so-called changed region. So to speed up, like if I want to move the character up by 1, I don't want to reevaluate every single area on the entire screen. So when I'm like redrawing, so like when a chunk loads in, I only want to update that chunk. So it could be like a small, 5 by 5 region of the screen. So what I do is this green blob here, that's just it defines a rectangle that's a subset of the screen. And so that when I basically say like, okay, update, print out the new updates, it only reevaluates the subset of the screen that's in the change region. So it just restricts the bounds of the for loop, and then it'll check the active flags and change states, and then everything in the original layer that's outside of this will just get ignored. So that's the interpretation of this here. And to get good coverage, I randomize the size of the layers, the number of layers. So this one here is layer 4, layer 3, layer 2, layer 1, layer 0, and then the resulting merged layer is this. Thanks for update. Fair enough. I mean, when something is brushed, it kind of loses its magic. Can't wait. For now, I'm going to watch your plan for world domination. Yep, hopefully you'll find it inspiring. Anyone got a paperclip? I don't. Actually, I do. I think I've a pack of paper clips somewhere around. But that campaign about the Clippy software is catching on. Although I guess like it's a good thing to think about. Although I don't know. I think the forces that are at play are maybe even bigger than what an awareness campaign can accomplish. Yeah, there's well, I don't know. There's lots of philosophical pontification I could go off on. Okay, what was I doing? So the changed region expansion-y thing is working. Hi, CS sophomore here. Looking into distributed systems, software engineering as a career option. By any chance, do you have any insights of this field? Whether it's worth pursuing between more popular careers like AI? That's a good question. AI is certainly like the popular thing. I think if it depends on how like good you already are with AI and how much it interests you and stuff. I think if you're depending on like what school you went to and like if you have a decent chance of getting a top job at like OpenAI or something, or if you've got access to like an internship pathway that's close to that, then and you just care about the money, then you might be able to like the rock star salaries. If you become an AI rock star, you can make a lot. But having said that, like some of these the lucrative tech positions, I always think some of the like lucrative tech salaries are actually just a bit. Well, in fact, I'm relatively confident some of them are almost like they're almost like an advertisement thing. So they pick a few people who probably are pretty good, who are just like really loyal, or maybe people like those. Some of the company likes those people, so that and they'll be like, you're a level 5,000 AI engineer, so you get $900,000 a year, and then a few other people make like half of that, and then after that, it like just trails off, and then a bunch of the compensation is in equity and stuff, and so that like if you can luck into one of the top positions at those places, then you might do very well. I guess the question though is like, once the AI hype cycle fades off, then what's going to happen? I'd say there's going to be a lot of like mediocre AI engineers who just went after the money, who probably won't do very well. Like there'll be a wave of layoffs eventually to kind of shut off the low quality AI engineers. Distributed systems, I think with the whole, AI coding supposedly replacing programmers, I think something like distributed systems or anything networking is probably one of the relatively safe things, because that so much relies on like you have to like understand the internal states and models and stuff, and like you can have weird deadlocks and stuff. And if you ask AI like how do I fix this deadlock, this distributed deadlock, it'll be like, certainly you can fix it using these debug techniques. But it'll just basically tell you like something you could read in a textbook, and it doesn't really help you. You have to like manually look at the system and step through and find bugs in the specification that caused your deadlocks. And honestly, actually, well, here's another answer. You could try combining those two. Work on a lot of these AI models are like massive, so there's got to be some intersection between make a distributed system for like ChatGPT or something like that, because these things are all running on like $500 million clusters and stuff. Anyway, that's my long-winded answer. Fash or SETI, but for AI. Yeah, I guess I don't really know much about how those systems are built, but like from what I know, like the ChatGPT is not running on one computer, and basically all of the cutting edge AI models that are like, what are they causing waves in the AI world? They're all of them have to run basically as distributed systems. None of them are running on like a single server somewhere. Time to get learning. Have you ever read Beej's Guide to Network Programming? If you want to do servers and distributed systems, I would highly recommend that. The networking in those data centers must be crazy. I would imagine it is. And they would have so much money to burn. Probably have nice cable management. I would imagine if you're going to spend hundreds of millions, like I'm pretty sure that's on the order of what some of these things are. Like Microsoft bought a nuclear power plant just to power it, just to power some of their stuff. I think they bought, maybe someone can Google this, I think Microsoft bought 3 Mile Island, or like they have some contract to use like that. I think at 3 Mile Island, only one of the nuclear reactors melted down, and I think it's still in like a melted down state, but one of them is like operating and produces electricity. My last message got dev nulled. Yeah, despite your contributions, YouTube still didn't like whatever that was. It makes me want to know. It must have been really, really worth censoring. What cables? Yeah, it might be all done like, I don't know, internally somewhere. I took a concurrency course. That's what got me interested in networks and distributed systems. Yeah, it is an interesting topic. I think it's got I think there's a future for it. Like I don't see it. I don't see distributed systems as a concept going away. There's so many different ways to build that stuff, and oh, nice. We got another super chat. If folding at home, said he searched for extraterrestrial intelligence. Oh yeah, I had I downloaded those back in the day and had them as a screensaver. Both systems use idle compute on individual folks. Yeah, those projects were a bit more popular years ago. Although they people say it's like they're using wasted CPU cycles, but they also they really do actually consume more energy if you run them. OpenAI says their data center is 100B. Is that true? $100 billion? Wow. Or is that a number of parameters or something? How do big clusters with H100s communicate? Actually, I don't even know what an H100 is. So was that, James, was that was the, oh, that was the censored comment, huh? Oh, I wonder if it's the extraterrestrial intelligence thing. It honestly seems like it's the sensor almost seems like a proactive, like anyone who has like any hint of conspiratorial, like fringe beliefs, it censors. Like if you talk about aliens or you talk about the government conspiring or something, or like something, it seems like that's the kind of thing that it proactively censors. It's like if someone talks about the Federal Reserve doing this or that, that gets censored. Probably marketing as well. That's what was reported. That's a lot. That would buy a lot of computers. Also interested in security. Found it really vast and overwhelming. Tried to capture the flags, and they assume you have lots of knowledge. Yeah, cybersecurity kind of almost seems like a moving target. Like I'm sure in cybersecurity you could spend a lot of time learning some stuff, and then in 5 years all that knowledge would be useless. I think for distributed systems, like the percentage of knowledge that decays to have zero value after 5 years is probably lower than in cybersecurity. But I mean, I've never actually tried to do any of the bug bounty stuff, but I guess if you're good at that and you I think if you specialize in a certain platform and learn it inside out, you might be able to do pretty well. Wonder how much of the 100 billion is capex versus opex. That's a good question. I'll have to Google. That's more than I thought it would be. 100 billion. 100K. Each 100 cluster can consume 150 megawatts, cost over 120 million per year in energy. Wow, I'll have to Google that. I can't even visualize. I don't know what an H100 looks like. Open API chief pursues investors, including UAE, for a project possibly requiring up to 7 trillion. That's like it's such an insane amount of money. That's like what's the GDP of the US? It's like 2 trillion a year or something. Give everyone in the world 1,000 USD. Or get 5% improvement on AI benchmarks. Yeah, that's that's an interesting way to put it. 7 trillion. Yeah, if there's 7 billion people in the world, they're raising 7 trillion. That's enough to give everyone $1,000. I guess $1,000 wouldn't really go that far for. In the US, $1,000 wouldn't go very far. I guess in some countries it might. The price of everything's going up too. I think in China, the cost difference of like. I think it used to be like you could make 10 or 100 times more in the US, but I think salaries in China are now like a fourth or a third of what they would be. So still like it's different, but it's you still have more earning power here, but it's the gap is closing. All right, this might do what I want. All right, compiled first time. 100K, each 100 cluster is a monumental feat of engineering. It's a GPU-powered cathedral. So one individual H100, how large is that? Like, is it the size of like a rack server? Or is it like a football field size thing? Thousands of racks, each holding multiple servers, with 8 H100s per node. That's insane. I mean, the more AI gets good at like solving real problems, like, you know, solving things that approach human level intelligence, like optimizing, you know, I mean, it's going to get interesting, because I could see like at some point it would make sense for like chemical production companies to call up like OpenAI and be like, hey, can we have like full root access to your thing? Can we just like have a dedicated consultant and use your entire set of resources to like optimize the production of some chemical? Because if we can optimize it like 1%, that'll save us, you know, billions per year. So they can pay like, you know, $10 million for a couple of days of research. So the demand is, it probably will. We probably will have like crazy demand for hardware. Would you recommend distributed systems for someone who plans on making a startup, or is that knowledge only useful for big tech? I would say if you plan to do a startup, like having deep knowledge in some specific thing is going to help you. In my opinion, like the things that you need, like doing a successful startup is hard, and there's not a lot of people to do it. And I think there's a lot of people that get stuck optimizing the wrong problem. Like there's a lot of like personal projects that don't go anywhere, mainly because they're not adequately funded. And I think the limiting reagent in a lot of the thing that most engineers don't appreciate is that the limiting reagent in a lot of cases is sales and marketing. So for a lot of startups, a lot of things billing themselves as like a tech startup, I challenge you, next time you think of something as a tech company, look at their jobs page and look what percentage of jobs they're hiring for that are engineering versus how many are they hiring for sales and marketing. And very often a lot of software development, you know, tech companies, like 2/3 of the people they're hiring are sales and marketing and account managers and stuff. And so that tells you that, and you may see things even more skewed, where like a company is doing a chat application or something, and like anyone can build like a chat application, and especially now with AI, a lot of these, you know, gimmick type software, like something that does your accounting or makes visualizations or something, AI is going to make that stuff way more competitive. And also like companies like Microsoft and Google are kind of rolling out their own versions of all these things, like, and then they like there's a big risk now for you might build some amazing SaaS software and then Google will just like release the exact same feature as like a free you know, a part of their Google small business $9.99 a month subscription thing, and it might cost them, you know, millions of dollars to make it, but they'll just include it in the bundle. Whereas if you make it your own dedicated company, now you're just like you're entirely redundant overnight. Yeah, so that's a big thing to consider, is that unless you're doing something really specialized and unique, like a B2B thing, like something that's almost nearly like a specialized consulting contract for a company. But I think having deep tech knowledge on something would help you. Like if I were to choose between like having an arts degree or having an engineering degree and having like real experience at a company, you definitely want to have deep knowledge on engineering stuff to be competitive on a startup. You're onto something, Robert? I'm going to get a cluster. Yeah, they're going to get they're going to be in high demand. Although if we do have an AI crash, it'll be fun to go on eBay and you can buy once they're like throwing H100s out in the garbage because nobody wants them anymore. The fad's over, so you can get them for $5. We're going to do what the PC did for the home desktop and bring personal AI to the home market. You could, but the most powerful models will always be cloud ones. But if we can get them to be simple enough so that they can run locally and not be constantly stealing your data and uploading it to the cloud. But something I was thinking about from the things people talk about, ask me questions about, it's occurred to me that at some point, like no matter where your data is stored, unless it's like completely off a network, like especially stuff about like data that the government has on you, you only need for that to accidentally be queried into one of these models one time, and then it can be like almost like stenographically absorbed by the AI model, by the like parameters, and then to remove information is going to be nearly impossible. And even if you want to censor it or something, like if someone takes a list of confidential information about businesses, or like if a tax like KPMG or something, like one of those big tax firms, if like some intern accidentally pastes a giant client list into ChatGPT one time, and maybe it's like HTML encoded or something, so it gets by some filter, that's going to get absorbed into the model, and it's going to be like impossible to get it out, because like you can always ask like really specialized functions that'll and the other like weird aspect of it is the models will like likely know these facts, like the models will likely know information that's confidential and not know that they know confidential information. So I can easily imagine, like, some person working for the NSA will go on ChatGPT and just, like, for fun ask something and be like, how does the NSA do this thing? And then ChatGPT will be like, here's how it works. And it'll just casually mention it. And then be like, how did that get in there? Talking about super lockdown AI. It's not part of a company. Something that knows you in your personalized, but inaccessible to others. Yeah, that'll be in high demand for business. I have a sci-fi future movie plot where the entirety of the data on the internet gets leaked in a neatly structured way for everybody to dig through. Everyone else's internet footprint for the last decades. The thing is that may happen. I think that's probably where we're headed in, like, a post-secrecy world. Movie plot, I just mean daydream. It may soon be your reality. How is no one talking about AI being implemented into weapon systems now? That should be headlines, but isn't reality. Yeah, the future is kind of crazy. There's a lot happening in the world all at once. It's getting hard to keep up with. Fortune Cause command is my favorite Linux command. I need to make a shorts video on that. I'd like to do more of the Linux command shorts, but they don't make any money. They were good for channel growth. Scary because it's like what are countries going to do if they think others will benefit from integrating AI? Yep, that's a good old-fashioned arms race and rapid escalation. Do you guys follow the technological advancements of the Ukraine war? That's quite interesting. How all the fiber optic lines they're having on drones and stuff, and like some of the drones. Man, the drone warfare that we have now is really horrifying. Like war just seems to get more and more brutal. Whoever owns state-of-the-art AI weapons systems first will own the world. Yep, I think that's probably why the government wants us to invest so much in it. Yeah, I mean, like the idea of like being in a trench is scary. But like I can imagine the post-traumatic stress from being under constant threat of like drone attack is it's going to drive people nuts. And I mean, there's the fact that we now have drone threats domestically, like even like that very successful attack that happened in Ukraine against those strategic bombers. Like that could be repeated against any Western country. No Name podcast is really interesting. Cybersecurity podcast from Ukraine. Most episodes are in Ukrainian, some are in English. A lot of interesting insight into drones and what's going on over there. Yeah, I would imagine that there's some pretty crazy innovation and advancements by now. Probably like scary innovation. Yeah, World War III is going to be it's going to be crazy. Alright, this might do what I want. Excellent. It works. Drones are a good example of offense is easier than defense. Yeah, I mean, they're also, I mean, the technological innovations of World War III, I think, are going to be, I think one way to like summarize how it's going to be so different is, I think the attack surface in World War III is going to be so much wider than in like any previous conflict, because drones are not only for offense, but they're also for like defensive stuff, and like there's multiple. You can have like hundreds of types of drones for different purposes. Some of them are for surveillance. You know, you could put like night vision on them and stuff. You could have drones that attack other drones, or drones that I mean, they're also like used for propaganda purposes. Like, we're seeing a lot of crazy footage come out of there because of drones. So like they'll like we have videos of drones attacking stuff because there's another drone filming the drone doing the attack. And the internet is an attack surface. Yeah, that's not just like the internet, but like there's the cybersecurity aspect, but there's also the mental, the like social warfare aspect, like you know, just sowing doubt about things. And I mean, that's already becoming a problem. It's becoming so hard to figure out what is real. Like in the past, you know, you'd have to be an old person to be tricked by stuff, but now, you know, I've been like looking at stuff on Twitter before, and I'll be like, oh wow, that's interesting, and then I'm like, it'll say below it, it's AI. There's been a couple of cases where I 100% believed it was real, but it was just AI. Just going to head to the mines? Yeah, in the future, we can all just live in a terminal-based block mining environment where it's safe. It's going to be impossible from keeping it being open software. It's the main problem. Everyone will have it. I'm not sure I understand that statement. It's going to be impossible to keep it from being open software. Oh, because like compromises, I guess. Interesting. James 3D Prints says, hey, I'm back. How's it going? going live right now. Never mind. 9 more minutes. You mean you're going live? Dumpling time. I think it's almost time to call it a night. I got a little bit of progress done tonight. I think I've conclusively got that change region expansion thing working. That's, I think, the most gnarly feature of this. I think there's actually only a couple more data structures I have to add and update before the tests. I think I can declare that they support multi-column characters. And then I just have to change these test cases to actually test the multi-column characters. And once that's done, then I'm sure I'll find lots of bugs. And when I fix those, then we're done. We're done this feature. All right. I think that's a good place to stop for now. So we'll be back tomorrow for day 112. All right. Have a good night.